Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to help you avoid one of the most common double strategy mistakes, and it's hurting so many players' abilities to win more matches. Now, this video is courtesy of Matt Lynn on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to his awesome channel. I have put his link in the description below. Now, before I show you this point, I just want to let you know that it's this team that makes the mistake we're going to talk about. So I want to see if you can notice it while we watch this point in live action, and then we'll diagram it. Now, you may have noticed that this team was really controlling the point, like halfway through that point. They were in control, and then all of a sudden something happened, and they no longer were in control, and they ended up losing the point because of it. And did you notice what it was? Let me scroll back here. The problem begins right here. So this team makes a fatal mistake. But let's kind of work into this first. This player hits a fantastic lob, successful lob, over this player's head, forcing the opponents to switch sides. So let's get us there first. So there's the lob, the opponents switch, and now let's stop the point right here. What shot, in your doubles, experience, what type of shot is this player most likely going to hit? Let's just look at them, right? They're running a lob down. It's on their backhand side, and that really doesn't even matter, but it's even more true because it's on the backhand side. What type of shot is this person going to hit? And while you're thinking of your answer, hit that like button and check to see that you've subscribed to the channel. Do you know what it is? They're leaning back. They are going to hit 90% of the time a lob. They're going to lob that ball up high into the air. Now, because they're going to lob the ball up, what shot should this team be preparing to hit, right? So if you see your opponents are in a situation, if you see your opponent is in a situation where they're most likely going to lob, you should prepare for an overhead. This team should be thinking, all right, how can we prepare for an overhead? Well, they don't hit a very good overhead, and there's a very simple reason why. And you can see the weak overhead that's hit, and then they end up losing the point because of it. So why does the team who is in charge of the point and hit a great lob, in an instant they're on the defense? Well, let's check this out. Here's the slice lob again. And right here, I'm going to stop the point. This team right here is about to switch. And I want you to notice where this team is positioned. They are positioned on the service line. And it's something what I like to say is put your toes on the service line. And this player absolutely has that. His toes are on the service line. They are both on the service line, but I want you to notice what they do when the opponents switch and the player runs down that lob. Look what these players are doing. They're getting closer to the net. Now remember, this person, 90% of the time, and 90% of your opponents will lob in this situation. They have to know that this person is going to lob. Well, what happens when they move forward? They make it easier for this person to lob over them. You do not want to get closer or close to the net when your opponent is in trouble, because your opponent who's in trouble is going to lob, and all you're doing is making it easier for them to hit that ball over their head. It's what Vic Braden called rushing the net to lose at a faster rate. You don't want to get tighter to the net to help your opponents out. And then what happens? The ball goes over their heads, and it's not the greatest lob in the world, right? It's not a ball that's like going to land on the baseline. In fact, if we kind of diagram this, here's the lob being struck. So let's look how many steps it takes for this player to run that lob down. Let's look at him, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a half, let's say, right? So that's 4.5 steps. He's kind of in the air in the middle of a step. So 4.5 steps. Now let's imagine right here, this player had kept his toes on the service line and he didn't get closer to the net. And by the way, this player is not lobbing because he sees this player move forward. That's not what happened, right? That his back is to the net and he doesn't see this team getting closer to the net. He's lobbing no matter what. What happens if this player had just stayed on the service line? So let's check it out. If he had stayed on the service line, there's contact right there. He would have had to go from here to here. How many steps is that? 2? That's 2 steps, where this player had to take 4.5 steps to get there. And this player's in trouble while doing it and ends up, off balance, running backward, and hits a very weak overhead. As we mentioned, the ball, is just a floater. The opponent gets to come in and just pound it. And then the partner here, he ends up missing wide. That ball ends up going wide. So here's the idea, and please send this to your doubles partner. If you're on a doubles team, send it to all your teammates. If you're a coach, please send this video link to your players. When you lob over your opponent's head successfully. Now, if he would have popped this ball up and let's say this player is going to hit an overhead, they should just immediately move back in order to give themselves time to react. But when you successfully lob over your opponent's head, you have to assume that they are going to lob it back. Well, staying at the baseline isn't going to help you in that situation, and getting close to the net isn't going to help you in that situation. You want to stand in the middle of where that lob can possibly land. If it's a weak lob, you can move forward and slam it. If it's a weak lob. If it's a great lob, you can move back and hit a scissor kick overhead. Be in the middle of where that lob can possibly land. Another thing, so really, these players should not go anywhere. So please, when you lob your opponent, stay on the service line. Now, there are going to be those of you in the comments who are going to say, yeah, but what if this player moves back and hits a ground stroke? Okay, well, remember, we're not dealing with a majority of the points. They're going to hit a hard ground stroke about 10% of the time. And I'm saying that from 25 years of coaching experience. 90% of the time, the opponent's lob. And I want my students to be right 90% of the time rather than right 10% of the time. Because if they go forward and then this person hits a ground stroke, well, sure, they'll be right. But again, you wouldn't go to Las Vegas or go to a casino and play games where you only have a 10% chance of winning and expect to walk away happy. You're going to lose all your money. That's kind of the idea. We want to be right more than we're wrong. But even if this player, when these players are on the service line, even if this player hits a ground stroke, you're not stuck on the service line. You're going to move to wherever you need to be. And if this player hits a ground stroke, this player can move forward and then they can volley. Again, you're on the service line, not stuck on the service line. You're starting there and you're going to move in any direction based on what type of shot your opponent hits. So the moral of the story, when you lob successfully over your opponent's heads, put your toes on the service line. And if you do, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.